this is Jeff Kober, and we welcome you to Disney Insights. Mary Poppins would say, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Well, I've seen that happen, as it's been my privilege to work with organizations, big and small, public, private, and nonprofit. Many of them come to me because they want their organization to be something more like Disney. They want a place where people enjoy working and even have fun at it. In truth, few organizations work harder than Disney. And at the end of the day, it's work. But despite the hard circumstances, the difficult circumstances, and the day-to-day challenges, leaders stay positive despite the circumstances around them. There are Disney-inspired lessons that can show us all how to keep a sense of humor, how to create a space for fun, how not to take yourself too seriously, and even how to find joy in accomplishing the impossible. From the boardroom to the Matterhorn, from Canoe Races to Goofy's Mystery Tour, join us as we learn lessons from Disney leaders, past and present, about how to create fun, even at work. This podcast is produced by myself and Performance Journeys, which goes into organizations to offer training, development, and consultant support to organizations big and small and entrepreneurs new and established. With a wide variety of resources and long time in the trench experience, we offer workshops, online learning, coaching, training sessions, and so much more to organizations that want to build their teams, raise organizational excellence, improve leadership, and create customer loyalty. Hey, check us out at performancejourneys.com. If you have a need, reach out to me so we could talk about how to help your organization. And please subscribe to this podcast and offer up a rating, review, or referral to others, particularly on iTunes. Make sure you check out DisneyInsights.com, where we offer key points, photos, videos, links, and more. And note that YouTube carries now our podcast, so please subscribe to our Disney Insights YouTube page, as it will be a more part of our social media strategy moving forward. We welcome any positive thoughts and comments on our YouTube podcast as well, and we'll read those comments on the air. Well, without further ado, let's talk about how leaders make work more fun. As I mentioned, in every job there must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. And every task you undertake becomes a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. This quotation from Mary Poppins by the Sherman Brothers is not just lyrics to a song. It's a philosophy for making the best of everything you do. It's creating joy despite the hardship. It's an approach Disney has sought to take throughout its entire history. Roy O. Disney, brother to Walt, once wrote to his parents, quote, and this was back in the 30s, "While we are not making money hand over fist as the general public thinks, we still are making some money. However, it is all going back to our business. Just think, there are about 130 or 135 people around here living on Mickey Mouse. He's a pretty good mouse, don't you think, to keep up so many families? Well, we are not particularly concerned whether we ever make millions or not. After all, what you get in this life is what you take out of it in the way of pleasure, fun, enjoyment, and accomplishment. I have made up my mind that I am not going to let this thing get me down just for the sake of some money. And I know that Walt feels the same way about it." End of quote. By the way, that's what Roy O. Disney wrote in 1933 during the height of the Depression, and well before they had their first blockbuster success with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. let's take a look at ways in which Disney has taken a look at maybe not taking themselves so seriously. Everyone agrees that work should be fun, but making it so is not always easy, even in the House of the Mouse. Under a crush of deadlines, prior to the opening of Walt Disney World, Dick Nunes had left his family in California and had moved into a cottage in Bay Hill. He often found himself sleeping on a cot, though, in his office. David Koenig, in his book Reality Land, noted that every morning the Disney World Operating Meeting Committee would meet in a construction trailer. As deadlines occurred, the meetings were scheduled earlier and earlier until one was set for 6 a.m. When Dick arrived the next day, he found his entire committee in bathrobes. Merchandising manager Jack Olson even had shaving cream on his face. Dick Nunes got the message, sent in a fun, kidding way. The meetings went back to a 7 a.m. start time. It's often bureaucracy or office politics that take the fun out of anything and everything. And I honestly have experienced that for myself, even when working for Disney. During my time with the Disney Institute, there was an interest in moving away from using slide carousels in the classroom. So slides would be projected on the wall, and there would be this carousel slides that you would use as your program. It was simply archaic for the mid-90s when I first arrived at Disney. One of my roles was to devise a better approach. The answer was simply to issue laptops to each facilitator and to utilize PowerPoint presentations. I met immediate pushback. Senior management didn't trust the facilitators teaching these programs to not lose the laptops or to break them or whatever it might be. The temporary answer, until management could see the benefit of laptops, was to use laser discs. In a permanent classroom environment, actually, laser discs kind of made real sense. Before digital improvements, laser discs offered the best images. They also made it easy to jump from one image or video to another, something much more difficult with VHS tapes or, of course, with slides. You could place barcodes into the facilitator guides, wave an infrared wand at them, and the image you were looking for immediately came to the screen. I thought it was a good solution for the time, considering they wouldn't approve laptops, which I ultimately, of course, thought was the best solution. The problem was taking a Laserdisc machine on the road. These were sensitive electronic products, and facilitators often had to go from one city to another. Carrying them required traveling carefully, insulating them from getting bumped around. For the facilitators, the equipment was not travel-friendly. With that hassle came resentment. Their feedback to me, quote, "Barcode this, Jeff," along with some frustrated expletive. It was all in humor, and we often laughed about it. They knew I was the champion for moving to laptops. But for several years, the expression "barcode this" became the one-liner for whatever was going wrong at any given moment. As a side note, the case for replacing the screen in our classrooms with monitors and laserdiscs had been an elaborate process. We had moved over to what was the Disney Institute facility that had been built under the vision of Michael Eisner to have a place to go learn gardening and cooking and climb a rock wall and so forth. All of that did not succeed, and so they used our programming they took our programming, business programming, where we provided best in business ideas to organizations and gave that to us as our home. But I needed monitors placed in the primary classroom, which was kind of a school building. It's still there on the, what is now Saratoga Springs. You actually go down into that little village there, and there is a kind of an old schoolhouse. It used to be kind of a reddish watermelon shaped or watermelon color. Any rate, I just simply needed to have monitors put into the room. But that actually, in those days, involved getting buy-in from Walt Disney's top architect, Wing T. Chow. As the executive vice president in charge of master planning, architecture, and design at Walt Disney Imagineering, Mr. Chow seemed like his time might be better spent on larger issues. In fact, during that same time, he was trying to build something completely new called the Disney Cruise Line. So clearly, our needs were put on the back burner. Should have just simply been approved, but unfortunately, the bureaucratic process required going through Wing Chow. And so any mention of that bureaucratic process was followed by our singing "Everybody Wing Chow Tonight," referencing the "Everybody Have Fun Tonight" by the British New Wave group Wang Chung. It was our little way of having fun in the midst of mind-numbing bureaucracy. But, even though it was very bureaucratic, we still found ways to have fun and to laugh at our circumstances and to laugh at ourselves. Leaders must not only be fun, but they must create an environment that welcomes such. When Pixar was purchased, John Lasseter and Ed Catmull, Pixar's top leadership, took over the fledgling animation department at Disney. Prior to the purchase, Disney Animation had gone through a difficult, humiliating period with product that did not inspire. John and Ed wanted the Disney Animation department to come alive with its own culture. After the announcement of Ed's appointment was made, he came to visit the Disney studios. It was a beautiful facility with a sorcerer's hat in front, reminiscent of Mickey's role as the sorcerer's apprentice from Fantasia. Since his schedule was busy that day, he took time to tour the facility early in the morning before employees arrived. After walking through several floors, it became apparent that every workspace was not only clean, but there was nothing on it that suggested something about the employee that worked there. No family photos, no tchotchkes, no personal belongings. This was completely different to what Pixar had done with their facilities, where they had actually found some back areas and had created their own little forts and really had gone way beyond what is imagined to creating these little personal spaces that people would invite each other to as cubicles and more. Finally, Ed insisted on an answer to his question, why does it look so clean here? The host acknowledged that because new management was coming on board, everyone was told to remove their personal belongings in order to make it look clean and tidy for the visit. This requirement sent a message to Ed about what the culture had deteriorated into. He knew he had to make changes, not in some policy or procedure, but to the culture itself. And those cultural changes eventually would yield Disney Animation to creating some phenomenal films, to include Wreck-It Ralph, Tangled, and Frozen. In short, you can't create fun and magic if you don't have a fun, magical place to work in. If you're going to have a fun place to work in, you have to be intentional about doing so. While it may happen on its own, it usually requires some kind of orchestration to create the environment for it. A long-standing Disney tradition is a commitment to a friendly and informal work environment. This involves promoting fellowship and camaraderie among cast members as well as their families. There have been things such as softball fields and at the Walt Disney Studios, which we talked about when we walked through that podcast during its anniversary. And I've also mentioned from time to time before the annual Canoe Races of the World, which is known as CROW. Of course, Disney cast members have access to theme parks along with discounts to cruise lines and resorts. Still, there's so much more. Here are some others. One is Goofy's Mystery Tour. You take bungee-like cords and you tie a team together. Then let them work together to find clues and solve puzzles in the middle of Disney's Hollywood studios at night. Award prizes. That's Goofy's Mystery Tour. Mickey's Retreat. That is long-standing, been 19 acres of pools, playgrounds, sports fields, and recreational facilities designed not just for employees to enjoy, but their families as well. Sports leagues. This goes way back. Basketball, soccer, volleyball, and soccer leagues played on Disney-owned fields within onstage and backstage areas. Social clubs. This is opportunities for people to associate based on their interests, whether it's Toastmasters, theater groups, fishing teams, or even amateur radio. Then there is Disney Volunteers, EARS. This program has its roots in all the way back to 1983 when a group of cast members working at Disneyland sought a way to give back to the local community in Anaheim. Soon the Disneyland Community Action Team was born. They had a strong desire to spread the Disney spirit beyond the bounds of the park, and this group worked closely with nonprofits throughout Orange County to engage in meaningful community projects and enhance the lives of local residents. The team enjoyed outstanding success, and the company changed the name to Disney Volunteers in 1992 to grow and continue the positive momentum around the world. Today, Disney Volunteers work on meaningful projects across the globe with a primary focus on communities where Disney businesses operate. And in fact, the Disney Volunteers program is part of the company's workforce development initiative, offering volunteers opportunities that require their unique skills. Employees and cast members have the chance to lend their professional skill set and interest to help these nonprofit organizations. In addition to lifting up local communities to benefit individuals in needs, volunteers can give to charities of their choice as well. The Disney Volunteers Grants Program allows those who participate in the program to convert their volunteer hours into donations from Disney. In short, over the years, the program participants have logged nearly 13 million hours to volunteer efforts. This serves as a testament to the collective compassion of Disney's cast members, and it all serves to help really build the camaraderie and the culture of the organization. Now, it's not just enough to have set programs and events in place for creating an engaged, fun place to work. It needs to come informally as well, not just through formal programs. Here's some examples of that. A few may know that within the icy caverns of the mighty Matterhorn at Disneyland, there is an actual basketball court. Its establishment was fairly unorganized. This wasn't in the original blueprints. It was the result of attraction personnel and Matterhorn climbers coming together on breaks or between climbs to play games. The court sat high above both the infamous bobsled attraction and where the Skyway had once passed through. So guests never really saw it. And it was only a few feet away from Tinkerbell's dressing room, so there was time for her to play as well before descending down the Matterhorn before the fireworks. It's not the first time anyone put up a basketball hoop at work, though it is one of the more unusual locations for one. There have also been courts backstage around the park. Backstage behind River Country comes to mind. A leftover pinball machine from the Penny Arcade could be found in the break room below Main Street, USA, in the Magic Kingdom's Utilidor. I hosted a wrap party for a multi-week film shoot in the Hollywood Tower of Terror. We had to shoot there, and we had to wait until everyone had emptied the building. And honestly, nothing's quite like pizza in the library at midnight when the building is completely empty. A hauntingly good time was had by all. On a personal note, my supervisor once threw me a baby shower. I never heard of a guy getting a baby shower, but it was a generous thought, and my wife and children were all invited. It was the first time I ever saw a diaper cake, but those diapers came in handy with the birth of our daughter. In the preface of my book, Disney Leadership in You, Danny Mickler talks about teaming up with Epcot President George Kalogridis to serve chili, sweet rolls, and hot chocolate on New Year's Eve to the cast in the middle of the night. As I recall, Danny usually served treats and refreshments to cast members at the cast services building on Christmas Eve most years. It was a selfless way she celebrated not just her holiday, but her birthday, which came at the same time. What do all these ideas have in common? They are informal ways cast members celebrated and reached out to each other. And in many ways, they are often more remembered than the formal events. So make sure you have actually a mix of both. You know, Walt Disney said, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago in our review of Frontierland at Disneyland when they talked about building the Rainbow Caverns. But he made this quotation, and it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Fun is part of the work, especially when you're doing really hard things. Those words from Walt Disney underscore what made working at Disney so wonderful. Walt also noted, quote, "Most of my life, I have done what I wanted to do. I have had fun on the job. I've never been able to confine that fun to office hours." Even Michael Eisner and Frank Wells found work fun in their first years. Frank noted, quote, "There's no more fun in this world than this company. Michael and I are still like two little kids. We call each other up and say, 'Listen to this.'" Many of those quotes resonate with me personally. I love work. I love what I do for work, and I love doing things like this podcast, which is part of my work. It's fantastic when someone's work creates amazing results. It's a gift when you can do that in a way that's simply fun and exciting. When that happens, you are probably the luckiest person on earth. In life, 99.99% of the people are in jobs that are hard, difficult, and painful. They are disengaged or at best simply checked out. When the opposite happens, it's indeed fortunate. As a cast member at Disney, I was very lucky. When I think about what personally engaged me as a cast member at Disney, where I really had fun, my mind goes back to the days I was assigned to be responsible for the development of customer service programming. With a master's degree in training development, I was comfortable with creating curriculum, but delivering instruction on customer service was kind of new to me. I observed it frequently at Disney, but I couldn't define it, much less put it in a framework that would become a multi-day training program. I was assigned to work with Judy daily. Judy could be appropriately described as the Mary Poppins of Disney guest service. She had worked at Walt Disney World since its opening. In fact, was the first female in an operational leadership role in the company and had been in those roles throughout the organization for decades. In particular, she had the responsibility for several decades of hosting every VIP, very important person, who visited Walt Disney World. From presidents to kings, from movie stars to rock stars, she hosted them. She knew how to create practically perfect customer service in every way. She brought that leadership to our development of the customer service programming at the Disney Institute. She had an insight that was so beyond the surface of simply smiling and being friendly. She understood the processes, systems, products, and services that created a great guest experience. With that knowledge, she took me under her wing and gave me an education on the subject that you could not get elsewhere. She gave me a new lens for understanding guests that was truly insightful. I saw the company from perspectives I had never seen in my decades of being a guest in the parks. Then, when the programming we created came together, she gave it a finesse of its own. Just getting ready for a 3.5-day workshop was equivalent to creating a Thanksgiving banquet for 35 to 40 people. She helped us to organize details I would have never paid attention to. We worked for days prior, getting everything in order, and on the day of the program, we spent hours in advance setting up the classroom to make it as perfect as possible. I would go home exhausted, but invigorated. She created an arc to our workshops that made the entire programming riveting and enjoyable. Around every turn, she had some clever insight or surprise for those attending. Little details like using graphics to express a statement on the whiteboard to catch the participants' attention. For graduation, she orchestrated a show-stopping conclusion with Sarge from Toy Story, lining up everyone for certificates. It was fun. It was engaging. I was proud to be part of something that was so universally accepted by people from corporations and public organizations, big and small. I credit Judy as a leader for making that so. She was a sort of strawberry blonde Mary Poppins, but in the most delightful way. With that, I've been able to see that application occur throughout organizations I have worked with as a consultant. Disney doesn't corner the market on fun. In fact, consider these quotations from leaders past and present. Thomas Edison said, "I never did a day's work in my life. It was all fun." Steve Jobs, quote, "I think we're having fun. I think our customers really like our products, and we're always trying to do better," end of quote. Richard Branson noted, quote, "A business has to be involving. It has to be fun, and it has to exercise your creative instincts," end of quote. And then from Dale Carnegie, "People rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they are doing." I have a wonderful client, former client, an entrepreneur, who once sent me a beautiful teacup and a stirring spoon. The cup says, "A spoonful of sugar," and the stirring spoon is a small porcelain replica of Mary's parrot-style umbrella. It reminds me of the fun, even joy I've had working with clients. And my role is to create magic that is full of fun as well. Actually, I tell my clients, I don't do fun. I create great experiences. And if you happen to have fun, so be it. I find joy in the work, and I find it fun working with people who are truly trying to create something better in their workplace. So here's to having lots of work and lots of fun in your workplace. Know that if you want creativity, innovation, and success, find a way to make your journey fun. To that end, I offer souvenirs, free souvenirs even, to you and your organization. As a leader, consider the following. Who creates the fun? Does it always come down from management? When is it something that comes up from the ranks that people could take ownership of? Second, is everyone a part of the fun? Does it represent a clique in the organization, or is it a place for all? Third, where's management? It's one thing to have an open door policy. It's another to be found in their territory having fun with your frontline on their terms. Fourth, just what does fun look like in our organization? 5, how do you provide informal as well as formal ways to celebrate and engage your employees? If you like the kinds of ideas and concepts we shared in today's program, please check out my book, Disney Leadership and You, which actually is the basis of the things that we shared today in this conversation. You can find it on Amazon, and a link is actually in the show notes as well as on DisneyInsights.com. If you are looking for other Disney books, consider The Wonderful World of Customer Service at Disney, which builds on the very things that I talked about that I learned during those years at Disney. Check it out. And then also we talked about some stories of Walt and Roy. Consider A Century of Powerful Disney Insights 100. It is about the Walt and Roy Disney years. And if you're looking for more of a business book that goes beyond Disney, well, we have over 100 different ideas and examples in Lead with Your Customer, which takes so many concepts around customer experience and employee engagement and how leaders make that happen. So check out those books from Amazon. Note that this podcast is provided by myself and Performance Journeys, which celebrates more than 20 years as a training and development group bringing best in business ideas through books, keynotes, workshops, seminars, and online tools to help you take your organization to the next level. So if you're looking for a keynote speaker, more than just nice stories like I share here, I offer proven insight and solutions. Having worked with organizations like yours, how do others do it? If you're looking for consulting, I've worked decades across the public, private, and nonprofit arena. So let's talk about what's unique with your situation. If you need support, we offer classroom, online, and other resources to help improve your customer service delivery, your leadership development, and to really engage your employees. So, hey, contact us today at Performance Journeys and let us help. Thanks for joining us for this podcast. Know that it is in the title of Performance Journeys. It's as much about the journey as it is about performance. And I would say this program today really emphasizes that idea. Find the second star to the right in your organization and keep going straight on till you reach it. Follow the compass of your heart and know that with a smile and a song, a little faith, effort, and pixie dust, your dreams can come true. After all, if we can dream it, we can do it. Until next time, bright suns, we'll see you real soon.